The folks who criticize my appointment of Sohail Mohammed are ignorant, absolutely ignorant of that, and they're criticizing him because he's a Muslim American. Sharia law has nothing to do with this at all. It's crazy. It's crazy. The guy's an American citizen. This Sharia law business is crap. It's just crazy. And I'm tired of dealing with the crazies.
Ladies and gentlemen, vintage Christie joining us now to talk about a lot of stuff you may not know about when it comes to Christie and radical Islam and Muslims is National Security Analyst for the Clarion Project, Ryan Mauro. Hello, Ryan. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure. You were featured, and I referenced this story yesterday for the folks who were watching from yesterday in a great Newsmax.com story about Christie's pro-Islamic views and how some are worried how it might affect Israel. But let's talk about this. And he was referring to a Muslim judge that he appointed to the bench in Sohail Mohammed. But before we get to that judge, there's somebody else that I know you would like to bring up. Somebody who has very questionable credentials that Christie has supported from the get-go.
Right. In order to understand all of this contact, you have to understand a man named Imam who is the leader of a Hamas-linked mosque in New Jersey. The Department of Homeland Security, beginning in 2006, started trying to deport him for lying on his green card application because the Israelis had arrested him for being a member of Hamas. He gets released, he comes to the United States, and then he leads a Hamas-connected mosque, and he preaches extremism that has been documented. So the Department of Homeland Security starts trying to kick out this very influential imam, and then politicians and aspiring politicians like Christie came to his defense. Christie, at the same time that the Department of Homeland Security is trying to kick him out, Christie starts praising him as a man of great goodwill. And then even during the trial to kick him out of the country, Christie's assistant attorney, Charles McKenna, was a character witness for the imam. And then Christie's right-hand man who defended Cantanani then leads the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security. So Hamas-linked imam, Department of Homeland Security is trying to kick him out, and he's being praised by Christie. So that's the initial background.
Right, and we should also point out that Christie, before we get to Sohail Mohammed, that Christie has also spoken at the American Muslim Union. And the American Muslim Union, as you've documented, tell us a little bit about that organization and some of their leaders.
Sure, well, I'm not sure if he spoke specifically at that organization, but one of its leaders was on his Attorney General's Muslim Outreach Committee.
Right.
And it's interconnected with Cantanani's mosque. They have 5 officials that are common. The officials that are part of it are also part of other organizations.
Right. Well, just to be clear, he has attended several events sponsored by the American Muslim Union. Whether or not he's spoken, I don't know.
Okay. Well, the big event is that, and this is after all the information connecting this influential imam to Hamas is out there, comes in 2012 when there is a meeting at the governor's mansion, an iftar dinner, and Christie actually points out Cantanani in the audience and calls him a friend and starts praising him.
Yeah.
And even after all of this is out. So that's the background to this one imam.
All right.
In order to understand the rest
Let's
of
go to Sohail Mohammed, who's a Muslim, who Christie appointed to the bench. This is a guy who represented the Fort Dix Six, who tried to carry out a terrorist attack at Fort Dix. At the time, Sohail Mohammed, as their defense attorney, said, this has nothing to do with Islam. Stop saying they're Islamic terrorists. And this is the guy Christie appointed to the bench.
And also, how did he know him? Here's how he possibly knew him. Sohail Mohammed was the defense attorney for Cantanani against the Department of Homeland Security. Now, when Sohail Mohammed gets appointed, there were people that were just mad that he's a Muslim, and Christie had every right to bash them for that. But it overshadowed the fact that this is an individual with very troubling ties of his own, including to, again, Cantanani, the same Hamas-linked imam we've been talking about.
Yeah, and on my radio show on WOR, when the Ground Zero Mosque was being proposed, I had Christie on, and I have this tape available. We're going to play it next week. He would not say whether he was for or against the building of the mosque on Ground Zero. Outrageous.
And well, this helps explain why, because look at the Muslim leaders that he's embracing and calling his friends and having that he's exchanging thoughts with, instead of genuinely moderate ones. And so that raises questions about his effectiveness in waging an ideological war against radical Islam, because it's one thing to prosecute terrorists,
Right.
but then there's the ideological battle.
Absolutely, and to say that Sharia is a bunch of nonsense and we shouldn't be concerned. Listen, you'll come back next week, Ryan. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll continue about this topic and Sharia and, of course, the Ground Zero Mosque. I'll bring the recording and we could talk about it. Thank you, Ryan Mauro. Up next, recording artist Stacey Ruth and Carrie Beth Stoling.